A lot of solopreneurs and small businesses really hate to sell. I know I was like that. I used to feel like selling felt icky. So I say get rid of that conversation completely and replace it with something I call a fit call. In order to do a fit call, you have to genuinely come in with a clear idea of who you want to work with, exactly what they look like, and not want to work with anybody else.
Hey everyone, this is Jenn Foster with the Elite Expert Insider podcast. Today, I'm really excited because we have an author, podcast host, and an entrepreneur that we're going to be interviewing today who offers her unapologetic, unfiltered take on growing a profitable 1 to 2 person agency with lessons that apply to anyone with selling experience. So, really excited to welcome Pia Silva. Pia, welcome.
Thanks so much, Jen.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into being the badass that you are.
Yeah, well, about almost 15 years ago, my then fiance is an artist and he's a graphic designer and he was freelancing. And I was also freelancing in other spaces. And I basically realized that he was very creative and good at what he did, but he wasn't so great at the business part. So I ended up deciding that I would just find the clients, manage the clients, and allow him to spend all of his time doing the graphic design. So that's how we started. And essentially, through the process of me trying to find clients, trying to make money, like all the things, I developed us into a branding agency. I developed us first into an agency that looks a lot like everybody else's, where we were pitching for projects, writing proposals, having projects that took 6 months that landed us in debt. And then I threw it all out and I ended up developing what I now practice and teach to other small branding agencies, which is this intensives model, which I found to be so much more profitable and so much easier for our little 2-person agency to manage and execute on. And so I'm like here, like waving the flag to solopreneurs that you don't have to do it the way everybody does it. You can do it in a much more profitable way that's much more manageable, and that will ultimately give you the profit, freedom, and ease that you so desire.
Awesome. I love that. So talk us through, like, how do you have no overhead or employees? Like, how do you still manage with the 1 to 2 people, but still have a huge portfolio and have, lots of clients to bring in all the money that you want per month?
Yeah. Well, so what we had been doing was taking clients as they came and then just working with clients on an ongoing basis, which I think
Mhm.
most people look at as stable. I found it to be anything but stable and reliable. We switched into this intensives model where at the first ones we did 1 and 2 day intensives. So those were more like VIP days. We would like execute a bunch of work in a day or two. And the beauty of that was at the time we had been selling $30,000 projects that took me and my team like 6 months to deliver on. And because we were in debt, we had to let our team go. My husband and I would spend 1 day on this intensive. We would only charge $3,000, but it all clicked at that moment when I realized, oh my goodness, a $3,000 intensive for me and Steve to do 1 day of our time is so much more profitable than a $30,000 project where I have a team and it's taking all of this project management time and energy over many, many months. So we went all in on that process. For the first year, we went from $40,000 in debt to $500,000, just the two of us, by just cranking these $3,000 and $5,000 projects out. And then once I realized just how attractive this was, how easy it was to sell, how much more profitable it was, we started raising the prices incrementally. Today, we charge $35,000 for our 1 day, $40,000 for our 2 day, and $60,000 for our 3 day intensive. And so you asked, how do you manage all of this? We do it by only working with one client at a time. So we work with a client and we do the project until it's done. And then we do the next project, which means I'm never managing more than one client. I'm usually not even managing that client because we just do the intensive till it's finished and then we move
Yeah.
on.
It's one
That
and
gives us
done.
it's one and done.
It's not
Exactly.
one and then you've got like 4 months of work you have to do to deliver to them.
Exactly. And there's also no ongoing client management. So in between projects, we go on vacation, like we work on our own projects, we work on our own business, and we are not interrupted by
Mhm.
managing clients. We have nobody to fulfill on. So
Mhm.
instead of having that consistency, which I know people crave. I
Mhm.
actually find the consistency and reliability, there's more of it in this business because I spend that time in between continuing to build my visibility, my audience, my pipeline. So I always have new clients. And I think true reliability in a small business has more to do with how easily are you able to find and close a new client when you need one
Mhm.
versus like, I have money coming in next month. That's not reliable. People cannot pay you. Like contracts cannot be finished. Retainer
People
clients
push
can
it.
quit.
Yeah.
Yeah, people
People
push it,
push their
people
contract. I
disappear.
need to wait another month.
Oh, we've all seen it a million times. So instead, we just get rid of all of that BS. We just work on the project till it's done, get paid in full, and then move on.
I love that. That's awesome. So, what's this about how you don't write free proposals? What's this all about?
Yeah. So again, when you're a small business, I find that although this is the way most people do it, pitching for work for free takes up a lot of time and energy, and it doesn't always result in a sale. I think it also
Mhm.
sets up the relationship in the wrong way. So if somebody's coming to you because they're going to hire you as an expert, and then the first thing you do
Mhm.
is say, well, let me go spend a lot of my precious time for free trying to
Mhm.
convince you that you should hire me, it's not really setting the relationship up in the right dynamic. So what I suggest
Mhm.
instead is that once you determine somebody is a really good fit, and that's important, we can talk about that more, but once you determine they are an ideal client for you and you can really deliver value for them, then instead of saying, okay, well, let me go write you a proposal for free and, start this game of going back and forth,
Mhm.
maybe you answer me, maybe you don't. Instead, pay me this no-brainer amount of money and let's do a lead product. I call it a lead product. It's
Mhm.
essentially a no-brainer price engagement where the client pays, you interview them, you get to know everything about them, where they are, where they've been, and where they want to go. And then you deliver to them a plan, a strategy brief, essentially outlining
Mhm.
what they need to do to get from A to B. And that engagement alone has value, but at the end of the brief, you say, okay, that's the plan. It's got value. You can take it and do it, and I've been paid for it. But if you want me to do it, this is the one number it will take, and I'll take care of all of it for you. And I'll apply the price that you invested on that initial step to the final price. And this has just been so incredibly effective for helping clients see your value, build trust before they make the decision on whether or not to pay you those
Mhm.
big prices for those big engagements.
Well, and it's a no-brainer. We actually just had someone do this to us for a marketing process plan, and we paid for them. We did the session, and then they did their pitch and said, "Well, we're going to apply the money to the next thing," and it was a no-brainer. We were like, "Oh, well, then why wouldn't we do it? Because we already paid." My crib that's going to be a part of the process. So yeah, that's really really cool. I really like that. Let's go back to what you said before. Of like, how do you find out if or how do you know that it is a right fit between client and relationship, right?
Yeah. Well, I think this is something I teach people about. A lot of solopreneurs and small businesses really hate to sell. I know I was like that. I used to feel like selling felt icky. And especially creatives that I work with. Oh my gosh, I hate selling, right? I don't want anyone to
Yeah.
feel like I'm pushing something on them.
Right.
I think that fear and that ick comes from this dynamic that people think exists or they have in sales conversations, which is you're trying to convince the person on the other end that you're valuable.
Mhm.
You're trying to explain to them why what you have to offer is worth the money, which doesn't feel good to any of us, right? Because we're basically having to justify our own value. And that feels icky, especially if the person on the other end doesn't seem to be getting it. So I say get rid of that conversation completely and replace it with something I call a fit call. In order to do a fit call, you have to genuinely come in with a clear idea of who you want to work with, exactly what they look like, and not want to work with anybody else. And if you genuinely have that desire, I'm trying to figure out if you are actually a fit, not
Mhm.
I'm pretending to figure out if you're a fit and I'm going to pitch you my services no matter what. But like, I actually want to figure out, are you a great fit and can I deliver a high value to you?
Mhm.
Then you will have a whole conversation just asking questions, just trying
Mhm.
to understand, are they a good fit? Oh, tell me a little bit more about this. I want to understand this about you. And I find when you do that digging, and you try to identify like, what is their actual problem? What are they actually trying to accomplish? Then
Mhm.
by the time you uncover it, if you determine, oh yeah, this is exactly who I work with, then when you tell them that, and I literally will say that, I'll be like, oh, okay, so this is your situation and this is what you need. That's exactly who we work with.
Mhm.
Here's the next step. And then you give them this easy to buy first step. That whole flow of the fit call conversation takes the icky sales thing away because it doesn't feel like pitching anymore. It's like, okay, well, we've figured out that I can help you. This is the next step. And it's a kind of a take it or leave it situation. And I think that takes the pressure off the person buying it too. And it makes them,
Yeah.
I mean, you just did it. How did it feel?
Yeah. It felt good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a normal sales process that we've gone through before, right? Didn't feel that icky like, did we make the right
Exactly.
decision? Was that, the buyer's remorse thing, or it was more of just like, oh, well, they have, and it was similar to what you just said. They have what we need, and we've already paid like the down, like this payment is going to go towards the next amount that we're paying. It's a
Mhm.
no brainer to just do it and then go from there. And it
Mhm.
just felt like a smooth flow for sure.
Yes. Love that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, what would you say like the biggest mindset shift is that has allowed you to scale your agency without like staying small? Because I know that's a big struggle for entrepreneurs, and even our company, we've been in business 10 years now, and we're almost like we're really close to hitting over the seven figures, but we haven't hit it yet.
Mhm.
And so it's like, okay, what is that mindset shift that needs to happen to go over that?
Yeah. Well, for me, I had to, and now I coach other people on how to make this transition. Is the shift getting over the idea that when you charge more, you have to deliver more and spend more time. So one thing that I notice
Mhm.
is that a lot of service providers will increase their prices, and maybe they'll get it, but then there's kind of an insecurity that comes with that increased price. They go, well, now that this person is paying this big price, like I'm thinking of a student when the first time she charged $20,000 was so much more than she had ever gotten before. She felt like, well, I got to give them literally my firstborn child. Like
Yeah,
I need
like
to
add
give
all
them,
these things to the list,
yeah,
deliverable.
like
Yeah.
I cannot push back on anything they need, anything they want. And I've done that too because they're paying me so much money. And the
Mhm.
problem is that actually what happens, and I do analysis of people's projects, and I often find that their highest priced, their highest ticket offers are actually their least profitable because of this tendency that
Mhm.
we have. So
Mhm.
I think the biggest mindset shift is the idea that as you become more expert in your field, you will actually be spending less time to deliver things that you will charge more for. And it's
Mhm.
worth it because you're more skilled and
Yeah.
your curation eye is sharper and you have a better
Mhm.
process and you're more, you're better at your systems. All of these things are contributing to being able to charge more and spend less time on it. And I think there's an emotional mindset shift that needs to happen to actually do that confidently.
Yeah. Well, and it's like hiring the electrician who knows which button to push to solve the whole building's problem and he says it's 30 grand to do that. And you're like, well, I could just push a button. And it's like, yeah, but no, you didn't know which button that was. Like, that's my expertise, right? So
Yes,
you would have messed it all
exactly.
up and then it would have caused another week's worth of, power problems or whatever. So it's that
Exactly.
mindset shift. I really like that. Making sure that you have that mindset and understanding that it's okay to charge more for your
Yes, absolutely.
well, how would you say or how would you teach someone to build the confidence for that? Like so that they can ask for higher prices?
Yeah. Well, I think the way to build pricing confidence is actually to just sell, raise incrementally. So, especially in the beginning, I charged $3,000 for that one day in the first year that we were doing it. I did dozens of them for $3,000. By the time I realized I should charge more for this, it was a no-brainer, right? So I actually just charged 3,500 for the next one, and that person said yes. And then I charged 4,000 for the next one, and that person said yes. And then for about 6 months there, I was just increasing the price of the one-day intensive by $1,000 every month. And the reason it worked so well for building my confidence was if somebody's going to pay me, if I know that it's worth $3,000 and then I make it 3,500, and the next person I tell says that's too much, I'm not going to wonder, is it too much? Because 3,500 and 3,000 are not that big a difference.
Oh,
Same with when I raise it from 8 to 9 or 9 to 10. If I've sold it for $9,000 a few times and I say it's 10 and somebody says it's too much, I'm not going to think, oh gosh, now now it's too expensive. Maybe if the next
mhm,
10 people say no, but probably not. But if you
mhm.
jump your price from you've never charged more than 5,000 and now you charge 10,000 and you say it to the next person and they say that's too much, you're going to feel insecure about it because you've
Mhm.
never validated in the world that you can charge that much. So you're going to go, it's too much. And then you're going to backtrack and you're going to just ruin your house of cards of confidence. So that's what I recommend is like build on a solid foundation by selling and raising often.
Mhm. I like that. Because if you're selling off, if you're raising the price often, then it's not gonna feel that like big jump like you're talking about.
Exactly. Exactly. And I don't know why people are really like worried about raising prices. Like I got so used to raising prices incrementally that I would just on a whim sometimes go on my website and just like add a few $100s like every time I thought of it. And because I think sometimes people feel like I don't know that they owe it to people in the world to keep their prices the same. I'm not sure
Mhm.
where that comes from, but I think it's a really good muscle to build. And I distinctly remember once, this was when our prices were around like, I remember it was like around $14,000. A client called me and he goes, I've been watching your prices go up every month. I need to book this now before it gets out of my budget. So,
Right?
it was quite the opposite effect that I intended, but it totally works.
Yeah. The I better hurry now or you're gonna raise it even more. Yep.
Yeah.
I like that. What would you say is the biggest reason most people are struggling with sales? Because I know a lot of entrepreneurs that, it's like especially if you have the type of service that's the one off, like you were talking about before, that takes 6 months to fulfill. It's like you got to keep on selling that one thing. Like, what is the biggest struggle and why does it sometimes feel so hard to just get the sale?
I think that people put too much stock in each person that they're talking to. I think they put too much pressure on themselves. I think
Hmm.
what is a much better, and this can also happen when you're operating in that like old school, I
Yeah,
think,
the
default model.
proposal selling.
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
finally got a proposal and then you put all this energy into it, and there's just
Just,
so much pressure for that to close. And
hmm.
what I want to encourage people to do is build your business and your processes and the way you run your business in a way that your your job and your energy is spent always filling your pipeline and generating more leads so that each individual sale is not that important. Not to say your clients aren't that important, but it's like this way you can show up on a sales call, try to figure out if they're a great fit. If they are, offer them this lead product, take it or leave it. And either way is fine with me, like you're a great fit, but if you don't see how I can help you, then that's okay because I have someone else right after this, right? Like who might be a good fit. It will relieve all of that pressure that you're feeling. But I don't think people are in that position because they don't put enough time and energy and focus on the pipeline filling. So if you are marketing yourself, and there's lots of different ways to do this, obviously, but if you're
Mhm.
always making sure that you are top of mind for a lot of people, you don't have to worry about any individual sale. And gosh, like when I feel like I remember when it started to feel like that, like a
Mhm.
difference, like, oh, take it or leave it. That's fine. Like I have 3 more fit calls today. It feels so different and you feel so free
Yeah.
from that pressure of sales. And I think that pressure is what makes people feel icky about it.
Yeah. Well, and I really like the language you're using. Because, like, saying you have a fit call is totally different than saying I have a sales call or saying I have a pitch call. It's like, or even just like they say that, that the getting to know you call, the fit is if we're a good fit. Like, it's just a totally different language. So I think it does change your mindset just by saying a fit call instead of that, strategy session or whatever sales call or whatever you want to call it. Right. It's a different language. I really like that.
Yes, thank you for saying that because I'm often telling people like get off of the free consultations and the discovery calls. It's like a veiled sales call and it's kind of uncomfortable because we all know it's a sales call but we're not saying it. This way we can
Mhm.
actually be more upfront about the fit call and then somehow that also relieves some of the sales pressure, which is what we all want to do.
Mhm. Well, tell us a little bit about your book. You have a book on Amazon, it says Badass Your Brand, The Impatient Entrepreneur's Guide to Turning Expertise into Profit. Tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah, so I wrote this book about this transition that we did from like the default agency model to this intensives model and standing out in a crowded space, how to build a profitable business by saying small. And in the
Mhm.
book, I share like all the details about how we went from $40,000 in debt to $500,000 in just a year, just the two of us by implementing these badass branding techniques.
Okay.
And,
Mhm.
I wrote the book for any service businesses. So anybody who's
Mhm.
selling expertise and wants to sell with more profit and freedom.
Awesome. I love that. I love that you wrote the book on it. And has the book helped you to get new clients, or what have you been using the book? How have you been using it?
Oh my gosh, I cannot recommend writing a book enough. I wrote the book in 2017 and to this day I get emails a couple times a week of people who are reading my book for the first
Mhm.
time and it's changing how they do business. So, it's such a great tool and I wrote it because I wanted people to believe me, quite frankly. Like I wanted people to believe what I said so I could help them in their businesses. And it just worked really beautifully for that.
Awesome. Well, and I think in my business, I've done multiple businesses. I've had 2 or 3 businesses. And I've always said to myself, well, I don't want to be the cubicle company. Like, I don't want to build my business big where I have all these employees and this building. I've always wanted to work from home because I have kids and I have, but then it's the scalability trying to be like, how are we going to do this? So I love that you have a plan and a model that works. Right. And so I'm really excited to
Yeah.
read your book.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, it's really for you and me, right? I have a 6-year-old son at home. We don't, like, I didn't want to build a team. I have a team now because I'm building a different business. But when it was my agency and just me and Steve, like, we just wanted to travel. Like, he's
Yeah.
an artist. He wanted time to paint. Like, we just wanted to live our good life and also do good work. And,
Yeah.
it seems like a lot of people just want that, and I don't say just, like, a lot of people want that. They want a fulfilling
Yeah.
life doing what they love, but not doing it all the time.
Yeah, I love that. Well, tell us where people can go to get the book and where they can go to find out more information about you. And I think you have a freebie for our listeners.
Yes, so
Please.
you can grab my book, Badass Your Brand, on Amazon, Kindle, paperback, Audible, but I recently took the feedback from Amazon. I took the exclusive rights back so that I could gift it in specific situations. So I actually would love to gift it to your audience. If you are listening and you love an audiobook, you can go to nobsagencies.com/elite expert and you can grab an audio copy of my book for free. And I would love to, if you do that, I'd love to hear what you think about it.
Perfect. We'll put that up in the show notes. We're excited to have everyone to be able to go and listen to it. So thank you for that, giving that away for us.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, this has been the Elite Expert Insider podcast. Grateful for you to be here. Make sure you like and subscribe and share this podcast with anyone who you know it would help.
Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.